I think Anthony Robbins said it best. He said people are attracted to excellence, right? People are attracted to people with higher standards.
I believe that we shouldn't compromise our standards, right, for anybody and stuff, and especially if we want to be that example to others. Things that are worthwhile take time, and they're hard. They're not easy. They're hard. It takes sacrifice, and that's what has value. Things that have value because it was hard to achieve them.
You want to make sure that the income producing activities or the habits that are going to push you forward, you want to make sure that those things are automatic. You never want to use willpower, because we always lose. If we go to willpower, we'll lose. If we're talking leadership, look for ways, look for things that people are doing, recognize them, anchor them, and you're going to give them a gift that also they're going to remember you for the rest of their life, because you now have given to them something that no human being has given to them most of the time. And so that also develops loyalty and some other stuff.
Hey guys, welcome to the Driven Not Given podcast. And I've got a friend of mine here who I've been in contact with this guy for many, many years. And a couple of years ago, somebody invited me to a Super Saturday, and I said, no, I'm not interested. And then they said, yeah, my buddy Efrain is going to be talking. And I said, who? Efrain who? And they tell me that is this guy. I said, what time does it start? I'll be there. So I showed up. I had no intentions really of taking a look at that particular business for myself at the time, but I wanted to learn from this guy. I heard he was going to be training for a couple of hours, and I said I canceled what I was doing to make sure to be at this man's training, and here we are. So with that being said, let me introduce you guys. This is Efrain Tejada. Efrain, how you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to it. I watch all your videos, and we're definitely cut from the same cloth, man. Your style is definitely my style.
Thanks a lot, my brother. I agree with you. We're definitely cut from the same cloth. So I'm going to dive right into it, Efrain. One of the things that I see about successful people, brother, is that, especially nowadays, right, is that they work out. They take care of their bodies. They have a lot more discipline. The millionaire today, in this day and age, has a lot more discipline than the millionaire back in the days, right? And so I see that you hit the gym hard. You also, train with your kids hard. Would you say that your discipline in the gym also translates and helps you with your discipline in business?
Man, that's a great question. So, yeah. Okay, so let me back up. So, when I was a kid, I was super overweight. In fact, when I was like in third grade, fourth grade, they sent out a monitor to pull the kids out, right? And somebody came into my class in third grade and pulled like me out, right? And so I walked into the nurse's office, and there were some other kids from the school, and they called us into the nurse's office because they were writing a book, and they were doing studies on overweight kids in LAUSD, and they were using me and a couple other fat kids as reference. And yeah, man, I think I was like, I don't know, 5 feet, $160. I was super fat, man. It was bad, I got made fun of, all the fat jokes that you can think of. And so originally I started working out. That was the reason. And so I think it was ninth grade, man. I came back after summer. I just did a video on this. I couldn't do a push-up, man. It was embarrassing. So I started doing girl push-ups. I couldn't do a pull-up. But most people, by the way, can't do pull-ups. So I couldn't do a pull-up. So I started doing girl push-ups, assisted pull-ups, with bands. And then once I was able to do a couple, I started working out at the gym. And then at 16, I was ninth grade. I came back and I had lost, I stretched out, I grew. And I transformed myself. And then I played high school, sports and football and baseball. So I've always worked out. But that weight loss in third, fourth grade was my first major win. So yeah, man, I think working out was crucial because it was the first time it gave me the belief that I could start something, I could finish something. The dopamine that I got, it was just really good. And then I worked out in high school, played sports. And then in 2016, I moved to Ohio. And one of my friends signed me up for a powerlifting competition. I'd never done a powerlifting competition. He signed me up. I had no idea what I was doing. And it was deadlift. If you know powerlifting, so you deadlift, you bench, and you squat, and you get 3 attempts at each. And then your best score, you add them all up, right? And so anyway, I didn't know what I was doing. And then I won my class. And so,
Wow.
yeah, so then that's how I started powerlifting. But yeah, man, I think it's huge. I think training is huge for business for sure. It's mental therapy for me. You'll feel good about yourself when you're out talking to people. You're healthy. You've got energy, especially if you work hard. I think
Yeah.
it's been clutch. The discipline, the game plan, the same thing. You got to modify your nutrition. You got to see what's working, what's not working. If you get injured, you got to come back. So yeah, man, I think it's. I think Anthony Robbins said it best. He said people are attracted to excellence, right? People are attracted to people with higher standards. So I think it's definitely
Mm.
that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I believe that we shouldn't compromise our standards, right, for anybody and stuff, and especially if we want to be that example to others. I saw a short clip of Andrew Tate. I'm sure you're familiar with Andrew Tate.
His name sounds familiar. No. Oh yes, I
Yeah.
do know. He's the guy that's been banned from everywhere. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so Andrew Tate was doing a podcast, and some guy comes on the podcast, calls in and asks a question, and he asks, "Hey, Andrew, how can I get a six-pack fast?" And Andrew Tate says, "Why's it got to be fast?" He replied with, "Why's it got to be fast?" Right? Things that are worthwhile take time, and they're hard. They're not easy. They're hard. It takes sacrifice, and that's what has value. Things that have value because it was hard to achieve them, right? So a lot of people live in this instant gratification world where they want things fast, but guess what? That's not the way that life works. It has to be difficult. And I believe that discipline that we learn to develop from working out or from sports and whatnot definitely translates into business. I know that it certainly helped me out as well. I even saw a video not that long ago that actually a few years ago, the guy was graduating from getting his MBA or something like that, and he says, I do this and I do this and I do that. And he's talking about his daily regimen, right? And how he's so disciplined. And he says, and the reason why I do these things is because I want my kids one day to catch me in the act of excellence or the act of greatness, something along those lines. And it gave me chills, right? When I listened to this guy saying that, I'm thinking, damn, I want my kids to catch me in the act of greatness, right? And nowadays it's different. Like I mentioned earlier, right? Would you say that that's the case? The stereotypical millionaire from, for example, the 80s, some overweight, bald guy with a Rolex and always in a suit. And then the stereotypical millionaire now, it's a lot different, right? The stereotypical millionaire now is not fat. It's not bald, right? He's actually in shape, not necessarily in a suit because he's comfortable with wearing more casual clothes and whatnot. And, but definitely in shape and takes care of his body more. Would you say that that's the case?
For sure, man. They're younger. They're in shape. They're totally different. It's not some old man, drinking whiskey with a big gut anymore. For sure, man. That's a great distinction. I never thought about it, but you're right.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I also think that social media contributed to that, right? Because people want to look good, right? People are on camera, people are on video all the time and stuff, and they want to look good. And I personally have a philosophy about social media. I don't necessarily use social media. I don't let social media rather use me. I use social media because that's also a big distraction, right? People get very distracted watching endless videos. Instead, I want to use it to benefit my business, but not to distract myself. And one of the things I notice about you too is that you're one of the most disciplined people that I know. I mean, I see you at the gym, hitting the gym. I see you that you've been with the same company for over 20 years, if I'm not mistaken. And not only being with the same company for over 20 years, but being on top of that company for over 20 years. And so I would imagine that discipline has a lot to do with your success. Would you say that that's the case, Efrain?
Yeah, so I get that question asked all the time, right? I did a video on this actually. There's always questions that come up, right? That people always ask. Like people always ask, "Hey, what book transformed you?" Or, what's the one tip that you can give me, right? It's a hard question to ask. But in regards to discipline, that's my thing, man, for sure. Anybody that knows me, anyone that knows me, discipline is my thing for sure. And so I came up with a formula. It's worked for me. Everybody's different, but it's worked for me. So if you spend any time reading personal growth, you know that a habit takes around 30 days, right? Some people say, a little bit longer, 45 days, 60 days, but the idea is the idea, right? It takes a certain amount of time to develop a habit. And so anytime I want to add a new habit into my life, I just make sure and do it around 30, 40, 45 days. And that's how I've used that to stop drinking, stop putting sugar in my coffee. I used that when I started doing cardio. I hated doing cardio. I started doing, or doing stretching or doing things that I don't like to do. Prospecting, right? If you prospect one or two every single day. You do it for 45 days, it becomes a habit. And so that's the first part, the 30 days, and then it just becomes second nature, right? That's where you want to make sure that the income producing activities or the habits that are gonna push you forward. You want to make sure that those things are automatic. You never want to use willpower, because we always lose. If we go to willpower, we'll lose. So yeah, you're going to use willpower in the beginning, and then eventually you want it to be like just normal. So the 30-day thing has worked, has been clutch for me, and the other thing has been 90 days. So I call it the 30-90 rule. 30 days to create a habit, 90 days to change your life. So in 90 days, I've lost 20 pounds, too many times to count. In 90 days, I took, with a coach, right, with proper programming, I took my bench press from like 365 to like 400. It's a pretty big max. And in 90 days, my squat went up like 50 pounds, my deadlift, production, right? In 90 days, income in 90 days, right? You can literally change your life. And I think you told me a story that pretty much sounds like it in 90 days. So if you can apply, for me, 30 days habits, 90 days all out, and you're brand new, man. You're brand new in those 90 days. So that's really worked for me.
Yeah, and one of the trainings that we often talk about in direct sales, a lot of teams talk about this, and that's a 90-day blitz, right? That means that for 90 days, you go with all-out massive action. I tell people hashtag AOMA, all-out massive action. And I believe that in 90 days, you could set yourself up tremendously, right? You could lose a ton of weight, transform your body. You could build tremendous momentum, make a great amount of income. Even in real estate, they say you're 90 days away from your paycheck, right? In network marketing, you're 90 days away from a nice paycheck if you have the right game plan together. And in my business, I give people that right game plan. Here's what you should do. This, and this. And you do this for 90 days. You have to sacrifice for 90 days. You're going to be very busy for 90 days. And that's going to yield some incredible results. And that comes down to discipline, right? I tell people, listen, discipline trumps everything. Discipline trumps motivation. Discipline trumps skills, right? Because you could tell somebody just by meeting them, by seeing them on social media, even by the way they carry themselves, even the way the suit fits them. Hey, you know what? This person is disciplined. And people very often ask me, JC, how do you stay so motivated? It's not that I'm motivated. It's that I'm disciplined. How I feel has nothing to do with what I'm going to do. I have my game plan of things to do for the day. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to attack the day. And how I feel has nothing to do with what I'm going to do. And even Ed Milet talks about it. He says most people's self-confidence is lacking because they don't keep they don't keep the promises that they make to themselves. Right? They say they're going to go hit the gym, they don't hit the gym. They say they're going to do this and they don't do that. And so that comes down to discipline, right? And again, you've been with the same company for 20 years, right? That in itself is discipline.
One thing that you just said, bro, before we switch gears, this has been huge too, man. So just like you, man, I'm a big believer in mentors. I'm a big believer in surrounding myself with people who can teach me something, who I can learn from, who have solved problems that I have. I'm a big believer in that. So a long time ago, I sat down with a guy in Hermosa Beach who was a top producer. He was very successful in multiple industries. And I had a list of questions that I wanted to ask him, and I went with another buddy of mine. We sat down for breakfast, and I was super excited. I got there early, picked the table, tipped the server. So I told him what was happening. This guy shows up, and we sit down, and he looks at the questions. He said, all right, I see you have a list of questions that you want to ask me. He says, well, we're not going to talk about what you want to talk about. We're going to talk about what I think you need to hear right now at this stage in your life. I was probably 22 years old at the time, right? And he said this. He said, all right, I'm going to talk to you about integrity. He said, I'm going to talk to you about integrity. Now, integrity can be used different ways, but what I mean, he says, is being your word. He said, being integrity, the context is being your word. And he said, from this day forward, when you say something, you got to do it. You commit to something. If you committed to getting 5 customers, if you committed to doing X amount of presentations, if you committed to go to the gym, to read a book, the moment you commit, the moment it comes out of your mouth, you have to do it. And then he said, eventually what happens is if you commit to something, you do it. You commit to another thing, you do it. You commit, eventually your word becomes gold. And everything that you speak comes to fruition. So that conversation, what I did, I added to it. Okay, I call it a mental bank. So in a bank, right? You're withdrawing and you're depositing. So you say something, deposit. You say something, you do it, deposit. Do it, deposit, deposit. Right. So what happens after you have hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of deposits? You have a lot of money. Well, you become with this example, you can speak things into existence, right? But what's the problem? The problem is people do the opposite. They say it, they don't follow through. Withdrawal. I'm gonna, this is gonna be the year, I'm gonna tear it up, it's gonna be the quarter, it's gonna be the month, this is gonna be the week, I'm gonna lose 20 pounds and make X amount of money, I'm gonna be a top producer, and then they don't do it. And so they end up having tens of thousands of withdrawals. So they're actually in deficit. So they've accomplished something really good, not becoming a person of their word. So I think that's foundational, right? Before 90-day blitz, before you commit to habits, you got to make sure that you're ready for this mental bank, and you're always going to commit. Make sure that the deposits, you're ready to drop in tens of thousands of deposits. It's impossible to fail, right? If you always follow through, impossible.
Yep.
Right? You got the information, now just go out and execute.
Okay, so staying on that note, I love that. What is some specific advice that you would give somebody to follow through on their word, right? To follow exactly what you're saying right now. What is some specific advice you'd give for that?
Well, first of all, man, gosh, I think Ed Milet says it. Self-respect comes from you looking in the mirror, and you looking in the mirror and respecting that person, right? When you follow through on your actions, you earn your own, right? Earn self-respect. And so that's number one. Okay. The second part is if you're still struggling with this, and I think a lot of people struggle with following through, just have accountability, right? Make sure that you've got some kind of accountability, and that's where a good coach or a group, a good support group comes in. Because if you're accountable, this is what I'm accountable for in the next week. I give you permission to call me out, and then eventually you don't need the accountability. Although, what is it? Ray Dalio says the most successful investor in human history says that human beings are way more efficient when they're accountable. And even top level execs and CEOs, there's a board that they're accountable for. So yeah, I'm a big believer in accountability. For me, anytime I've had a coach, I've always done better. Anytime, because there's other factors that come into play also. When you have a coach that you respect, yeah, it's kind of like when your kids are out there playing. Your kids are at the park, and they say, "Oh, Daddy, look at me as I go down the slide." It's like they want to make you proud. And when you have a coach that you respect, there's all these built-in benefits. Like, you want to make them proud. You want them to respect you too. You want to rise to the occasion. So yeah, so that's how accountability. I think is a plus for sure.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, right? When it comes to accountability, I even have a Friday at 9 a.m. Accountability group, right? We meet up via Zoom on Friday and we talk about, hey, what are your numbers? How many appointments have you set? How many appointments have you kept? How many presentations? How many sales? What's your income go? Et cetera, right? And the people that are part of that group level up significantly more than the people that are not a part of that group. But it's also accountability. That means that we're going to hold you accountable, and that's going to be uncomfortable. And we know that success exists outside of the comfort zone, right? We have to understand that we first get outside of our comfort zone until being outside of the comfort zone becomes a new normal. Now, once you're so used to being outside of the comfort zone, getting in the comfort zone, doing things that used to make you comfortable before are now the new uncomfort. Like, if I'm lazy, if I'm unproductive, that makes me uncomfortable. I don't like to be uncomfortable. So I do the stuff that has now become my new level of comfort, right? Which is making the phone calls and being productive and whatnot.
Yeah, so check this out. So, man, I'm telling you, we're on the same page, man. So I do something called Midnight Madness. I started doing this a long time ago. And see, a lot of times we need to be reminded, right? Like, we need to be reminded. We don't need to be told what to do. We know what to do. We just need the reminder. So I was, let's see here, 2000, I don't know what year it was, maybe 2010, man. And my production in my business was not the best. It was mediocre, right? It was mediocre. And so I just wasn't. I was smoking a cigar. outside my house. I lived in San Pedro and off the cliff, so I'm staring at the boats. I'm smoking a cigar. I'm journaling, right? I'm big. And I know you are too, man. Big on journaling. And so I'm like, man, what's going on here? What my numbers are just, what can I do to improve my numbers? And I go back to my journal. And in my journal, I came across something that I had written years before, something that we did. And it took us, just unbelievable numbers. Record growth, right? And so it was called Midnight Madness. So what we did was every Monday, we got together at midnight in person, bro. In person. It was at midnight at Denny's, 24-hour Denny's. It was a different place every Monday. So for instance, we would meet a Denny's in the South Bay, a Denny's in the Valley, Denny's in San Bernardino, a Denny's in, all these different places, right? So you had to drive an hour, so in some cases. So we met, right? It was high producers. These are for people who wanted to dominate. These are people who wanted to make life-changing income, right? And so we started at midnight. We met at midnight. You couldn't be late. If you got there at 12:01, you're not allowed to come in. It was super strict, right? So we sat down midnight and we game planned, right? Okay, so what's the week going to look like? What is your goal? What needs to happen this week in order for you to accomplish your goal? And so anyway, I came across this the journal entry, and so I said, bro, this is how we dominated. Nobody in the world. We just dominated. So I'm gonna do it again. So I did it again. So I said, I called a few now I didn't pick the best this time. I picked people who were not producing. So let's get together. So we're gonna do. We got together at midnight. Same thing. Started with about 5 or 6 guys, and the only difference is I made it into a game. So I said, if you don't, there was a survival goal. You had to survive, just like all these TV shows. So if you don't hit your goal, you can't come back next week. You have to survive. And I did rounds, right? So a round would be like 4 weeks or 5 weeks or 6 weeks. And the goal was that you survive. Within 90 days, one of those 5 guys is the number 1 producer in the world and breaking all the records. And so I still do it. I still do it. But now it's, with Latin America, I've got, I build in Latin America. So yeah, I do it. I get together with them and we cover all the income producing activities are tracked, Excel spreadsheet. You can go back. What's happening? Why are your numbers down? Well, that is because a month ago, or, you can look at the numbers. You can track. You can figure out exactly why people aren't, hitting their goals. So yeah, I love it, man.
Yeah, man, that's extreme too, dude. Meeting up at midnight, that only the serious people are going to show up to that.
Yeah, imagine we would finish up at 2, 3 in the morning, and then people got to wake up still at 7 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 3 hours of sleep. Well, that's what it takes. you said you got to get uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's very true. And sometimes people don't realize what they're capable of until they're put in some of these situations, right? Some of these uncomfortable situations. And it's about leadership, right? Leadership pays so much money. If you learn to be a good leader, right? People pay a lot of money for a good leader. And the fact of the matter is that people are yearning for leadership. People are looking for somebody, because think about it. We've always been programmed to follow the leader. Even as kids, that's a game that we played, follow the leader. In school with our parents, from elementary to junior high to high school, we were programmed to follow somebody else. So the masses are already programmed to follow a leader, right? So that's why leadership pays so much. Talking about leadership with you, again, you've been with the same company for a long time. How big is your organization now?
Gosh, man, I stopped counting. I think over 60,000, probably 40,000, 50,000 US and 15,000 in Latin America.
Wow, that's impressive. And clearly what got you there is leadership. The bottom line, everything rises and falls on leadership. What are some specific things about leadership that got you? What would you say are some specific things when it comes to leadership, right? Staying on that leadership topic that got you there?
Yeah. So it ties to the last thing that you mentioned, man. So when you have a group of accountability, right, and you have a coach, and you've got good people around you, so many things happen. Okay. So I'll give you an example. I cannot remember now the guy's name. He's a big-time powerlifter out of Columbus. He passed away now. Anyway, okay. He said this. Okay, this guy's gym. I don't remember his name. This guy's gym was breaking world records more than any gym in the world. This guy was breaking world records constantly. 24 world records every year, and it became the gym. Like so for those of you, maybe people are listening who don't know powerlifting, there's bodybuilding. Bodybuilding is how good you look, take your shirt off, it's the belly muscles, and powerlifting is how strong you are, period. There's weight classes, right? So it's weight and age. How strong are you based on how much you weigh and how old you are? So you're looking at ligament strength, joint strength, and muscle strength, right? Totally different. So these guys were breaking powerlifting records, strength. I mean, squatting 1,000 pounds or bench pressing 600, 700 pounds. I mean, ridiculous. I mean, unbelievable numbers, right? Beyond human. And so, um, he said that the danger of working out at a commercial gym, he said, is that when you go work out at a commercial gym, the danger is that he said it just like this. He said, you're surrounded with losers that aren't making any progress. Okay? That I hated going to commercial gyms because I'm with all these losers. These losers are bench pressing 200 pounds. They're fat. They never make any progress. That is the danger, the environment. So he opened up his own gym. Now, his gym was a private gym. It was not, he had to invite you. So you couldn't just walk in and get a membership. You had to be invited. So that gym was known as the gym. I mean, you wanted to do everything that you had to do to be invited. And so they were this environment. It was just a savage environment, right? And so, as leaders, if we can create an environment where that people, they come in and they already, it's built in the belief that they will dominate, the belief that they will be stretched, the belief that they will win, that they will hit their goals. I mean, that's key, right? Most people have never, most people have never experienced someone looking at them in their eyes and saying, man, you got what it takes. Most people have never experienced that. Most people come from environments where they're put down, And so, so I would say the environment is going to be important, making sure that the environment is good for growth and for developing leaders. The second thing is you have to have the ability to be able to look at people better than they are, and then anchor them when you notice something, right? Anchor them, So, like for instance, let's say that we had just met, right? Let's say I just met you and maybe the JC of a few years ago. Clearly, I would say, bro, you're have spent a lot of your time training martial arts. You obviously have worked on yourself. So your mindset is bulletproof, bro. I could tell based on what you've told me that you just don't quit. Like you keep charging, right? You keep charging forward no matter what. Now, let's say that I'm not going to make it up. It's just based on what you've told me, right? And so most likely you knew that it was like that. You knew that you persevere. You knew it, but nobody ever said that to you. And so now I've anchored you. Now you own that for the rest of your life, right? You now know, yeah, man, I always, when I did this, kickboxing match or this Muay Thai match or, oh, bro, when I failed in this business, but it didn't matter because I came back stronger. I learned and I've now doubled and tripled and quadrupled. Yeah, for sure. And now for the rest of your life, you now own that belief that you persevere. And so when you're working with people, you're building teams, you got to look for opportunities to anchor people with something positive, right? There's one guy, a long time ago, I said, bro, you know what? You're a closer, man. Like you are savage, bro. It's just, it's like, it's innate. He's like, yeah, that's right. I am a closer. Dude, to this day, dude's a savage. He is on another level. I mean, no joke. He is, I would say, he could do a clinic on any human being, on closing, on any human being. He's so good. Another young lady, she was young, 19 years old, and I said, hey, I can tell, I noticed something. You took the integrity conversation to heart. And I've noticed that you said you were going to do this, and you did. Then you said you're going to do this, and you did. Then you said, I listed like 5 or 6 things. I think you got this integrity thing down. You always follow through. That's going to be exponential, right? Long term, because that's the foundation, bro. Here we are, 10 plus years later, man. She's a killer, bro. She's a killer. One of the best. I could put her up against anyone in the world because she knows I always follow through. If I say I'm gonna make $1 million, I am. If I say I'm gonna, have a phenomenal, lose 20 pounds, gain 20 pounds, but if that's just, so yeah, look for ways. We're talking leadership. Look for ways. Look for things that people are doing. Recognize them, anchor them, and you're going to give them a gift that also they're going to remember you for the rest of their life, because you now have given to them something that no human being has given to them most of the time, and so that also develops loyalty and some other other stuff.
Wow, that's very powerful. Very powerful. When you say that, it started making me think, right? One of my mentors a long time ago, I had never made $100,000 in a year. This is, in my 20s. I had never made I had gotten close, maybe 80,000, 90,000, but never 100,000 a year. And this mentor of mine did exactly that with me. He says, JC, you are $100,000 per month guy. You just haven't had the right opportunity, the right timing, the right leadership, mentor, etc. But you, with the right opportunity, you're $100,000 per month guy. And again, I had never made $100,000 in a month, right? In a year. And I set my goals. He says, you got to believe bigger, faster. So he anchored me, as you just mentioned, he anchors me. And I'm like, I started to believe it. Sometimes we need somebody else's belief in us, right? More than our own belief. In order to get our belief up, somebody else has to believe in us first. And that's what leadership does, right? And I went on Front Street. As a matter of fact, the video's still on YouTube, bro. I go on YouTube and the video basically says, and you can see me, I clearly look a little bit younger, hopefully just a little bit younger. And then I say, I'm making my goals and I'm putting them on Front Street. In 9 months from now, I'll be making $100,000 per month with this company. Not between now and then, 100,000 total. No. 9 months from now, on that particular month, I will make $100,000 in commissions that particular month. Now, here's the deal. I didn't accomplish my goals. I came up short. I don't know what I made that month. I probably made about 30 grand, but 18 months into it, from when I made this video and this declaration, I made 84,000 bucks. Still not the 100,000. But had I not made that go, had he not anchored me and me believe and create that identity about myself that I am capable of, and I'm a $100,000 per month guy. I've since definitely made that many, many times, and even a lot more than that. But mind you, I had never made $100,000 a year. Now I made $84,000 in a month, basically a year and a half later. It's because of what you're talking about. This guy anchored me, made me believe bigger, made me believe that I was bigger and better than probably I was. But my perception changed. And not only that, that's the reason why I do this podcast, bro. Because it's a form of personal development, right? I invite people like yourself, people that I respect, people that have done things, bigger things, that are currently doing bigger things, and et cetera. And so it serves me as personal development. So I just learned something very powerful. Even though I may have done it unconsciously, now I'm going to do it consciously because I just learned something new. So as you're saying those things, names started going through my mind of people in my sales organization that I'm going to go and I'm going to anchor. I'm going to spend that time with those quality people and I'm going to anchor them properly.
Oh man, that's huge. So I'll give you two other great examples. And see, here's the thing: everybody has greatness in them. So, for instance, I've got 4 kids, and 3 of them are little kids. Right, my son's 11, my son just turned 9, and my daughter is 7. Okay, so you can anchor your kids all day long, right? So like my 11-year-old, sharp. Like you could read something, he could be playing Legos, and he's listening, and then I'm like, bro, listen. And he's like, oh, yeah, he could be on an iPad, he could do, and so I'm like, all right, tell me what I'm, the dude's name is, David, and he did this. He can repeat word for word. What I said, you actually remembered? He said, yeah. And I said, bro, you're like a whiz kid, man. You have photographic memory. You're super. And he's anchored. Now he believes. Now that he like, yep, I'm smart. Yeah, my other son, he's got this big heart, man. Like he figured out, like my mom or my aunts, they come to visit, or we go see them. And what does he do? The first time he did it, he gave him a big hug, right? He gave, and my Diaz, right? Oh my God, what a sweet boy. And he's smart. So he's like, so I gave a big hug, to give me love, right? So I said, hey, did you notice something? You have a big heart and everybody likes you. And he's like, yeah, that's true. So what happens now? Right. He'll go to the park. He's the first one to make friends. We go to a place to play. We go to like Legoland. He's the first to have 3 kids. And they say, yeah, it's just people like me, I make friends easy. Everybody wants to be my friend. And he's anchored that way. So Again, we're building leaders, right? We're building leaders. It could be our kids, it could
Awesome.
be people around us. And the other thing is my coach, right? One of my powerlifting coaches. He's 70 years old, and he has a world record squat. He's got a squat record. He's 70. He squatted like 500 pounds, right? And so he wrote out my program the first time, right? The first time I worked with him, and I liked him because he had overcome injuries. Motorcycle accident, broke his back. He was supposed to be in a wheelchair, and then he was back to squatting like a year later, right? So I was working through an injury, and so he printed out my program, and it's 90 days, right? It's 100. It's 12 weeks. It's 12 weeks, right? It's the same concept, right? So 12 weeks. So I'm looking at my week 1, week 2, week 3. He's got every rep, every set mapped out for 12 weeks. Everything is complete. I mean, just boom, print out, go do this. So I scrolled all the way to week 12, and I said, and I looked at my bench. I said, Jim, you got me benching 400 pounds, week 12. Man, that has been a dream of mine, right? For 20 years, I see people with shirts, 400-pound bencher, see, I'm going to bench 400 pounds, Jim. Like I've been stuck at 365 for years. I'll get up to 365, I'll get weaker, I'll get injured. Like, and he says to me, like matter of fact, like, yeah, for sure. Well, like, what do you mean? I said, 400 pounds? It was 4 or 5, 4 wheels? He said, yeah. 100%, 100%. He says, as long as you listen to me, you don't do anything stupid, you sleep and you eat and you don't skip workouts, you do your accessories, right? All the extra work, triceps to make sure your bench is stronger, your shoulders to make sure your bench is stronger, your back to make sure the foundation is strong, you're going to do it. And I was scared.
Wow.
I was scared, right? I left that gym, I was like, dude, all right, man. And what happened? Boom. I was benching, and I got it on video. I was benching 400 pounds, and I came back next 12 weeks. And I'm like, all right, next 12 weeks to start. I took a break, and he goes, oh, okay, look at my printout again. Same thing. He's got me down at 415. I said, Jim, 415. I mean, we just came back. I just barely got you think I'm going to hit 415 at the end of 12 weeks? He's like, man, you always ask the same questions, man. You're annoying me. I said, yes, follow my instructions. I got it on tape, bro. I got 415, And so, he believed in me more than I believed, just like what you said. I didn't believe I could do it, man. I needed to borrow his belief. And then, he anchored me, and that as long as I follow the program and stick to it, I will always hit my goals.
What is it? What do you think you could bench press right now?
Right now, I'm overcoming an injury and I haven't tried the max, and I'm still even at my worst, right? And I also dieted down. I dieted too much. So I could probably right now still hit pretty close to 390, 380, and I'm not in shape. My best is 420. So we'll see one of these days. I'm working on some. I messed around, man. So as I get older, I'm focused on mobility. You're a martial artist, so this is kind of natural for you. Mobility, making sure I avoid injuries, and I messed around with my weight. I wanted to get down, lose weight, and I overdid it. I lost too much weight. And so anyway, I want to do a competition hopefully around November and see if I can break some records in November.
So listen, bro, one of the questions that I really want to ask you is, and I've wanted to ask you this for a long time, and I've seen you speak, and I've seen a lot of speakers in my career, in my life, and you're one of the best speakers and trainers that I've ever seen. Like I mentioned, that Super Saturday, I went out there because they mentioned that you were going to be training that particular day, so I said, I got to go and show up. What's funny is that I even remember you mentioning to me, hey man, you're going to take a lot of my stuff over there and train your team or something like that. So, something along those lines. You made a joke. What is some advice, bro, that you could give people to become a better speaker and a better trainer?
Okay, so let's first start with what not to do, I think, okay? So a lot of times I meet charismatic people, like good people, good, great communicators, right? They're just solid people. And then you put them on stage and they stop being themselves. They try to become powerful, they try to become Tony Robbins, Ed Milet. And I think that's a big mistake. Like, you're good enough. Like, just be you up there. I took Toastmasters. I don't know if have you ever done Toastmasters? Like my first, I did it, bro. I did Toastmasters. I forgot why I did it, man. Before I joined my company, and I failed miserably, man. I failed miserably because I put my hand in my pocket, and they're like, "Big, that's a ding." I touch my face, right? Oh, that's a ding. I said, oh, that's a ding. And then after, the person was like, "You got a lot to work on, man. You said 35 times. You put your hand in your pocket. You scratch your nose. You touch your chin." And I said, "What? You didn't look at the audience, your posture, your blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Damn, that's public speaking. That sucks. Like, I'm never gonna be good at public speaking. Never. Like, I just got. I mean, literally, I failed. Right? Did every possible mistake." And so I go to a training, man, with a guy that was, a big money earner. And he says this best advice. He said, "Look, be unique, be yourself. Okay, you're unique, and just talk. Pretend that you're having a conversation, in your kitchen table." He said, "And if you say if you're in the kitchen table, well, let's say and if you scratch your head when you're talking to a friend of yours in the kitchen table, well, scratch your head when you're on stage. Just be normal." And so I remember that. And so I never tried to be anything that I wasn't. I'm just me. I'm the same person here right now, you and I, that I am in front of 10,000 people, 15,000. I don't say anything different. Okay, that's the first thing, right? Just be you. Now, the other thing is this, man. So I sought out successful people, and I always wanted to know if you could teach influence, right? Like, can I work? I want to learn. At the time, people didn't listen to me, man. I couldn't schedule appointments. People were not showing up. People were not becoming my customer. I was just struggling, right? And I felt that influence. I couldn't influence, right? So I went to everybody that I knew. "Can you guys teach me influence? Is there a book? Is there a training?" And everybody gave me some crappy answer. John Maxwell. Read John Maxwell books, bro. And I couldn't find it. I said, "Bro, Jim, I even read all the books, man. I ordered every John, 21 laws of leadership, 19, 18 things, 90 things, and he's even got a book called Influence. I read the book, bro. He never talks about how to influence. Like, specific, like boom, 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 boom. Okay. So then I did come up with a formula. Okay. I did come up with a formula, and I think it's a valuable formula for people who are trainers, who are training people, groups of people. Okay. And the formula has like there's four components to influence. Okay. And this is just my own formula, right? It's not like, okay. So number one is vision. All right. Number two is value. Now, I think we haven't talked about this, but so value people confuse all the time. Okay. Value in 2022 is marketing is value, right?
Yeah.
You like you with your podcast, and you with some of the videos that you do, you're providing value. So you're marketing. Okay. So vision is number one. Value is number two. Big vision is number three, and fear of loss. Okay. So now let's talk about vision. So get into the habit of having futuristic conversations with people, right? When you're on stage, take them into the future. Say things like, "Imagine if you were to able to take action and build, something significant that could double or triple your. Imagine if you can actually pick up some skills and change. So get it futuristic conversations. People, you'll be surprised, man. Again, most people get stuck in current circumstances. I'm going to pay the bills this week or this month, or I'm fighting with my wife, my spouse. But if you can get good at like taking people 6 months down the road, a year down the road, value is when you're up on, talking to people, just always make sure that you are telling people what's in it for them. What WIIFM, what's in it for me, right? That's the value part. Big vision is now take them 5 years down the road. And then fear of loss is if you don't take action, can you imagine where you'll be? Something that you can say scary to top performers is you don't want to, let's say somebody's 21, you don't, or a group of people are in their 20s, man, you do not want to, get to your 30s and still be living at home with your mom. You don't want to get into your 30s and still, not have reached six figures. You don't want to get into your 30s, without owning a home or whatever, right? You don't want to get into your 40s. Okay, and still, not have that problem, that financial problem solved, right? And then you go in 10 years and shake people up, because that is an ability that most people can't do. But I would say this, definitely, hands down, the top book that really gave me a quantum leap. I mean, it was huge jump. Was the Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Smith. That was a game changer for me, right? Huge.
Wow.
That was a huge one, right? And I read that, and I have a bunch of copies. I read that probably within the first year and a half, 2 years. It was a game changer.
Mhm.
I would also say, let's see here, the basic ones, right? How to Win Friends and Influence People. A good one uh, that I read maybe in the last 2, 3, 4 years was The One Thing, right? The
Mhm.
One Thing was huge, right? Everybody typically at a certain point has one mentor. They focus on one thing, one opportunity. And then after that, but usually, it's you have one major thing that requires 70, 80% of your energy. I'll tell you lately, though, what's really been pretty interesting, really good. I've read some marriage books, man. They've been really, really good. One of them is called If Only He Knew. It's a good one. It's a
Wow.
really good one. It's been phenomenal, and I think, yeah, it's supposed to be a marriage book, right? And it's a Christian book. It's good. It's got some phenomenal personal growth because it's a different. I've never really jumped in, right? Like to relationship books, like other things, and so I realized that I needed to spend some more time. But that
Yeah.
book is phenomenal. And then the other book that I'm reading like 10 books, man. I'm like you probably. I get addicted to these books. I'm like 10 books at once. But the other book that I'm reading right now, it's been good, is The Love Dare, which is a movie. I don't know if you've seen that movie, The Love
The
Dare.
love what?
The Love
Oh,
Dare.
the love there. Yes.
And that's good. Being 39 years old, being married, I got my beautiful wife and kids and stuff, super blessed. But personal development is a lot of areas of your life, right? And I don't want to just be a great father. I don't want to just be a great entrepreneur, whatever the case may be. I also want to be a great father. So I want to learn some of these things on, how to become a better husband, right? Because personal development, as I mentioned, is a lot of different areas of your life. And the other day I made a funny reel, just making fun of, because a woman's job, stay-at-home mom or whatever the case, or just a mom in general, it's a tough job, man. I made a funny reel the other day of driving, leaving my house and whatnot, and I'm laughing hysterically, supposedly, right? And it says, leaving my wife at home with a crying baby and a messy house, right? The cool thing is that my wife is cool. You know what I mean? She saw that, she started laughing and whatnot because she knows that it's just all in good fun. But yes, that also points out to how tough and important it is for a mom to be able to take care of the kids. That's a tough job. And that first book that you mentioned, If He Only Knew, just the title alone piques my interest. So I'm definitely going to be ordering that book for sure, bro.
Bro, it's unbelievable. The just in the last 4, 5, 6 weeks, some of the stuff that I've learned there in that book, I think is going to be a similar impact to like Power of Your Subconscious Mind was in business, but in relationship.
Wow.
Wow. Wow. See, that piece right there, I think for a lot of men, including myself, that piece right there will make a huge impact. I know it's definitely going to make a huge impact for me. But Efrain, switching gears a little bit. This country over the last 5 years, 10 years, especially the last 2 to 5 years, I would say, has gone through a lot of changes. Whether you think, and I don't mean you, but just in general, right? Whether people think it's for the good or for the bad, there's certainly been a lot of changes, and I see a lot more changes coming. Where do you see this country going in the next 5, 10 years?
Oh man, that's a crazy question, bro. Okay, so wow. Okay, so let me give you some background and why I'm going to answer this way. Okay, so uh, I'm from El Salvador. My family's from El Salvador. Okay, so and some people don't know that in El Salvador there was a 10-year civil war. Millions died. It was hardcore. Okay, the
Right.
reason that happened was because the left was trying to take the country and make it a communist country. That was the issue. Okay,
Yep.
so as a little kid, it was dangerous. So anyway, that's the only reason I'm in the U.S. Right? It was dangerous. And so, as a little kid, I always overheard, and people, my family would visit in the U.S., visit us in the U.S. My grandpa, my uncles, they would always talk about the left. This is what the left wants. They want to give free stuff away and offering free medical and all this stuff, right? And so, I just think that right now we are in a very interesting point in the U.S. Because people don't understand that it could go bad fast. it could
Yep.
go bad fast. And I think some of us, it's our responsibility to raise up, the next generation with the right values, right? Not
Yes.
depending on the government, right, for handouts and paying for, the school, and we need to talk about free enterprise, capitalism,
Yep.
supporting yourself, right, thinking for yourself. And so, man, I think that if we don't get our act straight, I think things could go downhill. We could run the best country on the planet, man. And so, yeah, so like this, what you're doing right now, I think helps, man. The more we can talk to people, empower them, to teach them, coach, inspire them to think for themselves, to solve problems, be resourceful. So, yeah, I think that we got a lot of work ahead of us, man. We got a lot of rebuilding to do. So if we don't, we could be in some serious trouble. I think, though, I think we'll make it through. I think it'll be good. I think the next 10 to 20 years, just like right now, it's the best time in history, right? Best time in history.
Yep.
Even like
Yep.
people complain about like housing, right? Housing has definitely gone up, but when you factor in net normal inflation and you factor in what you get, it's comparable. Okay, it's comparable. If you look at all those factors, yeah, it's gone up a little bit, but it's comparable. So, I think we'll come around. Right? It's going to take an effort. It's going to take more people like you, like me, and I think we'll be good.
Let me ask you something. Have you seen Agenda 2, Masters of Deceit? It's a documentary. I think it's on Amazon Prime.
Somebody just sent me that. I have not. So, what's your opinion?
Watch it.
I'd love to hear your opinion. What's yours?
Yeah, we share a lot of the same philosophies, and I'm very familiar with, El Salvador, and also if you look at, I think it's Venezuela, same thing. When they turned communist, right, it happened very subtle. They turned communist, now the country turned to shit. And I think it's happening very subtle here. Actually, not too subtle, actually. To people that know what we're looking at and that study this, is not very subtle. It's actually not subtle at all, but to most people it's subtle. And one of the things in Agenda 2, the documentary I mentioned that they mention is there's a university teacher that's teaching a class on this. He's basically exposing what's going on and how communists have infiltrated the school system and how it's a big deal and how they work and all this stuff. And some guy goes up to him and he says, "Hey, your presentation was very well done. You did a great job." And he commends him for, the information that he just shared. He says, "But you're too far behind the times. This is already too far ahead, and we've infiltrated every part of education. We've already got your kids." Basically mentioning that the kids are already getting indoctrinated with this way of thinking. There's nothing that this guy can do about it. And if you think about it, right, the more schooling somebody has, you take somebody, you send them to these indoctrination camps, right? University, that's what I call them, right? And they go, the more years of schooling they have, they come out of there, I'm telling you, they're thinking the left. They're thinking with these ideologies, right? With these ways of thinking. They think the government should take care of me, everything should be free, blah, 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 which is, if they were to take time to study how these other countries became what they became, communist shitholes, right? They'd realize, wow, they're doing the exact same playbook here, but nobody studies that stuff, right? As a matter of fact, look at Andrew Tate. He got shut down for talking about some of these things. You could talk about the left. If you talk about the left and you have enough influence, they're going to shut you down. You could talk about the right all day long. You could talk to people about the right, about some of their policies on the right. You're not getting shut down for nothing, no matter how many views you get. But if you have a lot of views and you start to get a lot of influence and you talk against some of the agendas that they have, you're getting shut down 100%. And that's exactly what happened to Andrew Tate. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of things that Andrew Tate says that are way far off that I do not agree with, like the way, and I'll tell him to his face, like the way that he addresses women and stuff like that. I don't agree with that at all, right? But there's about 80% to 85% of things that Andrew Tate says that are absolutely real, that I absolutely agree with, that are facts, right? And so, but again, now let's look at, for example, Alex Jones. He got shut down for the same things. Alex Jones was saying the same thing, saying it for a long time, and he didn't get shut down earlier because we weren't in a culture of canceling people. When they started going and canceling people, then immediately he was one of the first people that they shut down. So I feel like there's a fork in the road, right? And that fork in the road right now is people are either going to wake the F up to this information and this stuff and how dangerous it is, or they're not. And if they don't, things can hit the fan. Shit can hit the fan very, very fast. And I think that's what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, I agree.
Those are my thoughts.
You know who Charlie Munger is? You follow him?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Charlie Munger, he talks about inversion thinking, right? Are you familiar with inversion thinking?
No.
So in inversion thinking is the idea that we find problems, our brains find problems faster than solutions. So Charlie Munger was hired in World War II to be a meteorologist. Okay, and so his job was they taught him how to draw like weather maps and predict weather. Right, that was his job, to make sure that the pilots were safe. Right. So what he did was he sat down and he wrote out, if I wanted to kill these pilots, what would I do? Okay, and he solved the problem in reverse. Right, so our brains, again, the idea is our brains come up with problems much faster than solutions. So okay, so you want to kill pilots, what are you going to do? And he listed, okay, I'm going to kill pilots. What I'm going to do? And then you do a completely opposite. Right, so that's inversion thinking. You do the opposite. So what happens is, as a result of listing out the problems, you actually come up with more solutions, better solutions, more clear on the solutions. Okay. And so when I think about what's going on, man, if someone or people wanted to ruin the U.S., right, using the understanding the inversion thinking, and they listed, well, bro, they're doing it. Right? They're literally everything you can think of, to manhood, right, to attacking fathers, to the schools, 100%. As a matter of fact, man, that's actually one of the reasons why we homeschool. Because of that, because of what you said, we want to be the influence to our kids. And so, yeah, we've been homeschooling even before COVID. We were homeschooling, and we've tried Christian schools and private schools, and so we still go back to this homeschooling. Like, I want to be the influence, just like what you said earlier. You want your kids to catch you in action, but hey, what if they're watching you all day long, right? And so, yeah,
True.
And yeah, it's 100%. I have friends who their kids go to college, they come back, man, and they've been brainwashed.
And again, it's all by design, right? Right now it's about separating the man, making the man look like he's not important, making him look like a goofball, separating the family as well, because there's a huge difference between kids that are raised with both parents, right? Both parents have their merit, of course. The man serves a very pivotal role, absolutely. And so if you look at any society that has fallen, they make the men weak. They separate the kids from the men. That way the boys grow up to be very weak. And I think that's exactly what's happening right now, big time. But anyways, man, there's so many things on that subject that we could get into, man. And if we start getting into that, bro, we could be here for a whole nother episode and stuff. So, Efrain, how can people connect with you, bro? How can people find you online?
Yeah, so they can find me, Instagram, Efrain Tejada SVP. They can YouTube, just type my name, Efrain Tejada, will come up. Also, I just started using my Twitter. I uploaded a video on TikTok. I'm going to be more active on social media, man. So definitely. So yeah, in Spanish, I'm going to do stuff in Spanish. I'm going to do stuff in English, and I just like empowering people, man. This information has changed my life, right? Mentors and like the things that we talked about today, and the things that you talk about on your feed. I love your feed. They empowered me. They changed my life. They transformed me. They made me who I am today. And so I'm really going to spend a lot of time, helping people create the best version of themselves through conversations like this.
Awesome, Efrain. Awesome. Thank you so much, brother, for taking some time out of your busy day to come on the podcast and sharing some of your wisdom. Frankly, I know that I learned a lot. And again, thanks a lot, my brother. All right, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Driven Not Given podcast. Make sure you guys like and subscribe and comment. Send this video to some people you think will find value from it. And with that being said, I'll see you guys at the top or from the top. Take care.